Newstalk ZB, it is 8:07. One of the games we play at the games, of course, is who did best, who was your favourite medal. A lot of headlines for Hamish Kerr, of course, because he seemed to basically come out of nowhere. Dame Lisa Carrington, because she has more medals than just about anyone's ever seen. And then, of course, we have Ellesse Andrews. She took home a couple of golds and a silver. She dominated the velodrome, and she is with us. Lovely to see you and meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Have I been boring you in the last 5 minutes with my intricate series of questions on cycling and fitness?
No, I actually enjoy talking to people who don't have probably as much knowledge as me of track cycling, so no, definitely not bored at all.
Fantastic. What I find fascinating about what you do, and first of all, clear some stuff up for everybody who asked all the same questions at the Olympics. The track was fast. It was a fast track. What makes a fast track?
So one massive thing that we talked about and we know of the Paris track is its height. So we, going into the competition, knew that in our flying 200s we would see some insanely fast times, and that is one of the massive factors contributing to that, because you know, the higher we are, the more speed we're going to get off the banking. And so we knew that. We knew that the shape of the track was fast. We knew that it was going to be hot. We knew that it was quality. So, yeah, there were so many factors that made us really excited to race on Paris.
Fantastic. How did you choose what you chose to do in terms of an event?
I love individual and team events. For me, you know, I have had success previously in the individual events, which gave me a start in both of those. And we were really excited to put a team on the line as well. So for me, the team event was easy. I absolutely love that. And I knew I wanted to do both individual events as well, even though it was a crazy, crazy schedule. I knew that beforehand, and I prepared.
The individual events that you were so good at what point in your career or life does somebody go, that's what you could do, as opposed to you being on the road, long distance, whatever? Yeah,
I always loved track cycling over road. But I was in endurance when I was a bit younger. But I feel like people saw qualities in me that sort of spoke to track cycling. And so, you know, one of them was I loved being in that bunch, and I loved, you know, getting in those tricky situations and getting myself out. So tactically I loved the Kieran, but then sort of my physical, you know, ability lent itself really well to sprint cycling as well.
So your physicality, does that predetermine to some degree what you will end up doing within cycling?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, some pure sprinters, which isn't me, very obvious that they would be sprinters. You know, they are extremely poppy, extremely powerful, fast, and the same with extreme endurance athletes on the track. You know, you'll be able to tell the difference between those. It gets a little bit more tricky with athletes like me who have a little bit of both. So it took me a while to find my path.
So you were born that way?
Yes, I was born. Yeah, I would say I was born that way.
Can you in cycling, if you are determined in some way, shape or form, become great? Or are you born great?
I think, you know, I have cycling parents. I have a whole cycling family, so I think I have that to thank
that's
as
why
well. Yeah, but I mean, along with that, there's so many things that go into, you know, making an athlete, and you know, passion is one of them as well. You know, it's not all about your physical ability, it's your drive and your want to be an athlete as well.
Yeah. So cycling appeals to you, why, as opposed to anything else? Track
cycling in particular, I love the speed and I love the adrenaline. I'm such an adrenaline person.
Why don't you ride a motorbike?
I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. I could do that later.
So what strikes me about it is first of all, cycling is accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, because most people can afford a bike. You get on a bike, you're off and running. Yeah. What you've got there in Cambridge, I take it you're in Cambridge.
Yes.
I mean, that's a fantastic facility. And despite the headlines of the last couple of years, it's actually been and is a brilliant program.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about, because yachting wasn't the same this time, but yachting, rowing, cycling in this country to a lesser extent, I suppose equestrian, have clearly programs that work, that breed champions. Yeah. So what can you tell me about what we do with cycling that makes us so successful?
I think with cycling in New Zealand, you know, it's not just about Cambridge. It's not about that hub. It's about our whole country and what cycling means to the country. And I have grown up in various different areas around New Zealand, Wanaka being one of them, amazing for mountain biking, you know. So I would get on my mountain bike as a kid and I'd sprint my parents, and that was so much fun, and that's what made me excited. Moving down to Invercargill, where I tried track cycling, they have an absolute passion for cycling there. They love it. And so the Southland program really, really helped nurture me. Canterbury, the same. There's just so many local legends in Canterbury that are just so passionate about what they do. And moving into Cambridge, where I moved when I was 16, similar thing. You know, we have that facility there. It's world class. I have people who support me, sponsors, the facility, the community, everything there is just so special. And so I think it's the tight-knit community and it's the passion that's within that community.
Fantastic. I was reading an article the other day, post-Olympics, athletes go through this dreadful lull. You don't strike me as being particularly depressed this morning. You seem full of joie de vivre.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's something that we are all aware of, and I think it's after you've gone through such a massive high, you know, what's on the other side of that when you've been focusing on one thing for so long. But you know, I'm really enjoying sort of a break and enjoying times with friends and family, and I sort of haven't really felt that lull, but I have an amazing support around me, and I am aware of people who do feel the lull as well.
But you're also young. You've got years ahead of you.
Yeah.
You've got the next Olympics, the Olympics after that, and all that sort of stuff to go. Don't go away. More from Ellesse Andrews in a moment. 8:13. Newstalk ZB, 8:16. Ellesse Andrews is our guest. Let me get just momentarily technical and bore you witless. So I cycle, right?
Yeah.
So I have an understanding when I look at, I can do 55 Ks, but I get there. It's reasonably fast, but I know what it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. So I look at you guys on the track, and that's what blows me away about how you do it. Because anyone who's never done 55 Ks doesn't understand how hard that is for a regular person, and you guys just blow it out of the water. At what point do you physically limit yourself to a point where you can go no faster?
Oh, I think, you know, Paris is a massive example of that. You know, we put absolutely everything into the track, and I feel like could not have gone any faster. But, you know, in saying that, you know, you do review a race and you think maybe I could have technically done something better. Maybe physically I couldn't have given anything more to the race, but maybe technically I could have ridden a better line, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's the reviews that we sort of do now and, reflect on so we can get faster.
That's my next question. How much of the sport then around speed and success is about you as a human being versus the bike or the track or the conditions?
I really think it is just, you know, a mixture of all of those elements that create a good performance. You know, of course you need the good athlete and you need the athlete to be on form at the time, but you need the athlete to be riding equipment that is going to allow them to go fast. You need the track to be good enough conditions to allow the athlete to go fast, and then the athlete needs to be able to technically ride the bike fast enough and be able to handle it.
Is the technology changing in the bike dramatically or slowly or not at all?
I'd say it definitely is changing, but in saying that, we ride a very simple classic frame at Cycling New Zealand, but you know, there are countries that spend hundreds and thousands of dollars per bike, in development, and they are going fast. So, you know, maybe there is a little something in that.
So
too.
there is something to chase. Now, once again, without getting technical, I noticed on the bike, some countries ran what I would call from below the handlebars a square sort of thing at the front. Does that make sense as opposed to the traditional? Why?
Yeah. So there were countries who ride those different looking forks in those different frames, and it's an aerodynamical thing, but potentially creates, you know, a different handling aspect to the bike as well. So, you know, there's lots of elements that would have gone into their testing for them to, you know, develop that type of frame.
How much of your success is about the program then, and the money that's put into it, the facilities they provide you, the whole thing?
I think it's massive. You know, we can do absolutely everything that we can as athletes, but you know, if we don't have the coaching staff, the support staff, if we don't have everyone on board creating the systems, the bikes, the skin suits, all of that to the absolute highest level, we're not going to go as fast as we could. How
many times have you hit the track?
I've had two.
And slid down it?
I've had two major crashes, but I've had more crashes than that overall. I'd say, you know, less than 10. You know, I'm not falling off every day or anything like that. But I'd like to say I've only had two major crashes, which is the ones where I've had a concussion, broken collarbone.
Because it's only when you fail that you see how steep that is.
Yeah.
how many splinters there are on that track.
Yeah.
And people think it's smooth and shiny. It's fantastic.
No. You do not want to fall off. And that's, I think, why all of us avoid it so greatly. The splinters are horrible. I've seen some horrific ones, seen photos of horrific ones. But when I crash, it hasn't been crazy massive splinters. It's just been the amount of wooden splinters in your body. It's not good.
Have you given much thought to this, given you're just back? But what happens now? Does the field come to you, or do you leave the field behind? I
think at the start of a new Olympic cycle, obviously we do a lot of reflection and planning for the future. And I think, a lot of it isn't what is the field doing, it's, how can I make myself better? Knowing that every single athlete in the field is also thinking the same thing. So we don't know what's going to happen in terms of everyone else's development. What I can control is my development, and that's what I'm going to focus on.
Okay. What are your weak points?
My weak points, I'd say, we were just talking about this a little earlier, but I think I have a lot to do in the gym and the upper body. That is a massive thing for me. I'm quite messy on my bike, especially when I'm absolutely fatigued. I do, flip a little bit all over the show. So I think for me, it's just, the first thing is that stability, that strength. But of course, always consistency in training. Not that I haven't had that and not that I don't do that, but this year has been up and down with the crash and all of that kind of stuff. So I think for me, it's just consistency and getting all those little things right.
One of the best things about the whole games for me in watching you was at the end, I can't remember what medal it was, but you said, I'm proud of how I carried myself through this. Where does that come from?
I'm so proud of the whole entire week because of how massive it was. I knew that it was going to be like that going in. I knew that, all going well, I was going to be racing every day, 6 days. And that's scary and it's daunting, and looking at that from the beginning of a competition is a lot. So I think to get to the end where I sort of was feeling those emotions, I was so proud of how I turned up every day. But even when I was exhausted, I turned up and I made sure to give absolutely everything to the race.
Fantastic. When's your next tournament?
In November, so I'm very excited for that. It's quite a fun little league, and so I head to Europe for that.
I like a fun little league. Once you're a gold medal winner, everything's a fun. It's a fun little thing I'll do between Olympics.
No, I'm very excited for it. It's sort of like the only event in the year that's more about entertainment than it is about getting out there and winning.
Well, warmest congratulations on it all. Well done. Been great to meet and talk with you. Appreciate it very much. Ellesse Andrews. It is 8:22.